Welcome to another intuitive EFT Tap and Chat. I am Dion from Eflowtion, one of the EFT tapping and soma breath instructors, along with my wife, Rebecca, who is an EFT practitioner. So not too sure what I'll be covering today as far as like the subject matter. Of course, it's an intuitive EFT tap and chat on being happy, as the title suggests, but the content I haven't quite thought through. So with all intuitive EFT tap and chats, I think, well, we normally tap along because there's meridian points on the side of the hand there. And as we tap, anything that I guess is constricted in the body, this will help release, which EFT is extraordinary at. So as we call it, tap and chats, feel free to tap along, or you can sit and listen, but you get the full benefits out of the tapping. And after I've done my little intuitive tap, whatever I'm going to come up with, we'll go into a round of EFT. So EFT tap and chat, intuitive tap and chat on being happy. Let's see where we go. So being happy. There was probably the most amount of thought I've put into this is probably the title that I probably should have called it, which was the pursuit of happiness. But I kind of didn't want to, I just kind of a weird feeling, I guess, like it seemed more appropriate to call it being happy. And I think calling it the pursuit of happiness may have been misleading in the sense of I'm going to help you in your pursuit of happiness, which I'm probably not, but I'm probably also going to reframe pursuing happiness. And probably you may have happiness already and you may be unaware of it. Or you may be spending energy where you don't need to, presumably. So as with all these tap and chats, it is a reframing of things. So, or looking at things at a different point of view. So if I go probably at it at a pursuit of happiness mindset, it might help explain what I mean by just being happy. So the pursuit of happiness, it implies a pursuit, almost a chasing of happiness. And it also implies that happiness is probably trying to escape from you and you need to chase it down, sort of thing, pursuing that happiness. Or even finding happiness, a discovery of happiness. And all these forms of pursuing, chasing, always looking for the next shot of happiness almost, is, well, I kind of put it in the sense of like a holiday sort of thing, like, we want to go on a holiday to escape stress, and we'll spend a lot of money. And I know at this time, where restrictions are still in place, for some places, that would be a very good thing to actually get out of the house. But in the sense of going on a holiday to reduce stress, or not even so much a holiday, buying of an object to bring happiness. And I guess when you're you're escaping stress and pursuing happiness. So it's like kind of like stress is the prison cell and happiness is the freedom that you're chasing, sort of thing, or presumably chasing. So that pursuit of happiness is almost an escape of stress. It's like a running away from something to get into something that is actually quite, I guess, comfortable, brings happiness, brings joy, brings alleviation to something that is stressful. In the sense of like a holiday, going on a holiday to escape stress sort of thing, but normally a holiday will end and you return to your prison cell, whether it be your job or whatever situation that you're in sort of thing. Now, where I'm going with this is, and it might be the first tap and chat that's actually quite short because it's kind of easy to explain, that I think looking at no matter where you go in the world, no matter what you do, no matter who you spend time with, if you're always pursuing a happiness, it's almost as if the happiness is a lacking within ourselves. Like a fulfillment that is never fulfilled, a cup that is never completely filled to the brim, however which way you fill it sort of thing. And I don't think happiness, because happiness is kind of like, well, it's basically a feeling, an emotion, a coming and going of, because we don't want to be continually happy. Like, and what I mean by that is how can, like, to fully experience a happy moment is to go through those darker times sort of thing, the sadder times, the boring times sort of thing. It doesn't have to necessarily be a negative, as far as like, it can be like, you know, you're in a state of boredom and then you watch something on YouTube or something and it makes you feel happy sort of thing. It's like you need those down times to have those up times. But I guess if you're constantly seeking or constantly chasing basically a feeling or emotion, pursuing something, like, it's understandable if something is actually like physically trying to escape you sort of thing and you're chasing it down, but a feeling and an emotion is contained within ourselves, and that it's not something that is like going, hey, try and catch me sort of thing. It's a feeling and emotion within ourselves that we're pursuing, and we might pursue through different forms of doing things. We're trying to find that right unlock key to find this happiness, and that, which sometimes is very necessary sort of thing. But some of the times these pursuits of happiness lead to adverse effects within ourselves, whether it's through sort of drugs and alcohol sort of thing, trying to find that moment of happiness. I can't be happy without a drink sort of thing. It's like, there are times that you are happy without the drink sort of thing. I'm not saying that don't drink. I'm just saying that that happiness is always within you. It's just accessing that happiness. And sometimes that denial of happiness is the thing that is actually stopping us from having the happiness, rather than having to pursue it like it is something that is purposely trying to escape you sort of thing. It's kind of like breathing sort of thing. It's like you're not trying to pursue your next breath. It just happens. It's just a moment of like, there's a pause in between the inhale and exhale sort of thing. It's like you will find your next moment of happiness, but to pursue it, to try all these different means. And sometimes these things are necessary, but sometimes there might be a block within ourselves that is actually stopping the happiness that is always there. It's almost like the attention is over here and happiness is here, and all you really need to do is turn your head to the happiness. But it's almost like you got a creak in your neck and you can't actually turn. It's like there's a stiffness, there's a blockage that is actually stopping you from accessing something that is always there. Now, for some people, like, there is a lot of misery that they've experienced sort of thing. And actually having happiness is almost like, I don't deserve the happiness, or I've just forgotten what happiness is, which, given any different situation, any different scenario, is actually quite, you know, it's a realistic thing for that person. It's not a, you know, a made up thing. It's quite a strong emotion, where it's almost like there's this big canyon of grief that is stopping that natural human emotion of happiness. And it's very hard in just a very global tapping to address a single issue, because there's so many different issues in the world. that can actually stop. But if you do look at the emotion of grief, for example, like grief happens in every part of life, where it's not so much someone's has died. Of course, when someone dies, there's a process of grief, but there's also grief in everyday life. You don't get that job, there's that grief of like the disappointment, the sadness, the anger. It's like all those cycles go through. It's like your friend doesn't call, sort of thing. It's like all that letdown. It's like it's an experience of an emotion. But I guess when you an awareness, I think, I was going to say if you reduce, but once again, it's like it's kind of tricky for each individual person just to say, hey, just reduce it and that's okay, because levels of grief are different for each person. But I guess an awareness of like, you know, these things are what make us human, and being human, we'll experience a range of emotions before we get to being happy, sort of thing. So have an awareness of where you sit in this spectrum of like human emotion, and knowing that happiness is within that spectrum. It's just, it might just be a process through the, like almost like a grief cycle to get back to that natural state of happiness. And once again, it's like you don't want to be constantly happy, sort of thing. It's like it's okay sometimes just to be like sad or just meh, sort of thing. It's like it's kind of like where you enjoy watching like a comedy sort of thing, but after a while, or like stand-up comedy sort of thing, you really enjoy stand-up comedy, but after a while it's like it gets a bit, it's almost like becomes too much of something, sort of thing. It's like you need those down times to refresh that state of elation. And that's basically what happiness is. It's like a very elated mood, sort of thing. You feel good. It can be just a chuckle or a full-out laugh. So pursuing happiness, which is not, happiness has not got a grudge against you, sort of thing. It's not trying to escape you. It's just that there might be some blocks within ourselves that's, or it might be just a process of sometimes time and healing to get to that natural state of being happy. And I think anything that is, if you're escaping stress, for example, it might be looking into that stress, looking into that those uncomfortable parts of their life, because almost in the sense of like looking away from a stressful situation, it's an avoidance of dealing with something that is actually probably the block that is stopping you from accessing that happiness again, that is always within you, sort of thing. So it's almost as going into, and safely, of course, so into those uncomfortable feelings to get the benefits. It's kind of like going to the gym or doing exercise to get the physique, the desired physique that you're after, sort of thing. You can avoid doing the exercise, but probably the physique won't be accessed, sort of thing. It's like it'll just be a matter of time until you truly want to access that physique, or you truly want to go into those uncomfortable feelings to get to the happiness, sort of thing. Because you may have moments of happiness. I'm not going to deny that. It's like, of course you're going to have happy moments, but whether it's almost a limited happiness, or just a happiness that is just sort of dependent on something, I guess. And rather than just being something that is just naturally arising and looking at life and enjoying life, sort of thing. So rather than pursuing happiness, I think clearing the blocks, that is, it's like you've got this well of happiness sitting here, and clearing that block so it can just naturally arise, sort of thing. rather than trying to seek it out and chase it down sort of thing and say, I need happiness. If only I did this sort of thing, or if only I partook in that course, or if only I had this object sort of thing, then I would be happy. And I'm not saying that in some situations that won't bring the happiness. It could be the thing that does bring the happiness. But I'm saying if it doesn't, then it's almost like that block, that happiness is just piling more and more stuff on top of it sort of thing and pushing that down and down sort of thing. So clearing those blocks that actually stop the happiness from actually arising. Because like say for an object in that, it'll bring happiness for a time, but it's kind of like a child with a toy. No matter what your age, after a while you get tired of it and throw it to the side sort of thing, and then you'll be at your natural state again. So rather than relying on the object or looking inward to bring that happiness. So once again, this might actually be quite an easy, quick and intuitive EFT Tap and Chat, because it's kind of just, I was about to say simple, but it's not too complex in its nature. So we might move into the EFT section of it. With each EFT that we do a setup statement. And so we'll do 3 times on each side. So we'll do an EFT tapping on being happy. So just follow along and repeat after me when I do a pause. Even though I'm pursuing happiness because I just can't quite get it in my life, I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. Even though this happiness is evading me and I can't capture it and have it in my life, I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. Next time. Even though I'd rather just be happy than chasing down happiness in this endless pursuit, I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. This happiness that I've been pursuing, I've been running for so long, and it keeps evading me. This pursuit of happiness. It's like this happiness is trying to get away from me. I might capture it. I might capture it for just a moment. This fleeting moment of happiness. And then this happiness says to me, I might just run off again. And you're going to have to pursue me. All this pursuit of happiness. And it gets tiring. I'm trying to chase down this happiness. And I get very stressed. And I get stuck in stress. It's like the happiness is waving at me, saying you'll never catch me, because I'm bogged down in stress. But maybe, just maybe, I've been trying to chase happiness, but I've been wearing some cement shoes that are encased in stress. Or maybe my whole body is encased in stress. And it's being worn down. And I might see other people happy. I think, if only I could have that. I wonder what store they went to buy this happiness. They just seem to have it in abundance. And here I am, heavy in body, tired in mind, trying to chase what they have or what happiness has. And maybe when I look at things in my life, there are things that don't make me happy, and I don't want to look at them because it's uncomfortable to deal with. It's very stressful to deal with. I'd rather not look at these uncomfortable things in my life. And there might be some part of me that is aware that all this stress is dragging me down like concrete shoes, dragging me down and down. But maybe all around me and all within me is this happiness. Beneath this layer of stress that has encased my body and my mind is that happiness. And to free myself from the stress, it's almost like I've got to tap away at this layer, all these layers of stress, all these uncomfortable feelings that I don't want to experience. But by gently tapping away at them, layer by layer, moment by moment, experience by experience, I start to free myself from the stress. Free myself from the stress. I'm releasing myself from the stress. I don't need to pursue happiness. It's already within me. Releasing these layers. Releasing these layers of stress. Feeling good within myself. Experiencing this goodness. I've had goodness before. Just got bogged down by some stress. I'm freeing myself from this stress. Allowing this goodness and allowing this happiness to fill the spaces. Fill the spaces within my body that are being weighed down by the stress. Free myself from the stress. Allowing goodness to fill in. Allowing happiness to fill in. I'm taking notice of the bad experiences. And I'm going to acknowledge those bad experiences, because they allow for the good moments. Because whether you're crying with laughter or crying from sadness, it's the experience and the experiencer and the frame of mind that signifies between a good moment and a bad moment. But I'm the experiencer in this experience. Experiencing the good, experiencing the bad, and then experiencing the good again. All these emotions within myself. All these mix of emotions. I'm feeling them. I'm releasing the grief. Going through all those cycles. All the sadness. All the anger. All that sorrow. Until I'm experiencing good again. Experience happiness. Seeing that life doesn't have it in for me. And I don't need to pursue happiness. It was just my frame of mind. Happiness was just waiting to arise. Waiting for its moment. And the cycle of grief. So it can naturally arise. And I can be happy again. I'm being happy in body, mind, and soul. Just taking a deep breath in. And seeing where you feel within this, whether you have a reframing of a pursuit of happiness, or if the pursuit is still continuing in your mind, that next thing that you need to achieve to get this happiness, or is it just something that is within ourselves? Like I used the analogy of going for a holiday to relieve stress. It's sometimes addressing the stress that is within ourselves, and maybe just going for a holiday for fun, for the pure enjoyment of it, rather than to escape a prison of stress. And sometimes we view our jobs, all these things as prisons, but sometimes our own bodies feel like prisons, our own minds feel like prisons, and we're trying to escape that to get to the happiness. And sometimes the unlock key is within ourselves. So by going inward, by looking inward, you can unlock that part of yourself. For some reason, it comes to my mind, like where people say, like some people, like for example, pursue being enlightened, as that is a form of happiness. But also to be enlightened, you have to acknowledge the flip side of it, of darkened. So it's like going through the process of going through all those sort of uncomfortable feelings with ourselves to free ourselves, even in an enlightened stage, if you want to look at it in that frame of mind. So so going into those uncomfortable feelings is sometimes the unlock key within ourselves to have happiness, but at the same time, you don't want too much of a good thing. You want those moments where it's where you can appreciate the happy moments. But if you're constantly happy, then it's kind of, it becomes a bit blah after a while. You need those uncomfortable moments sometimes, or those just boring moments. So where I'm going is, if you're wanting to explore some of these uncomfortable feelings, or just some things, or limiting beliefs is another way of looking at it. If you're wanting to explore some of these limiting beliefs and free yourselves of these limiting beliefs, then definitely Eflowtion offers EFT tapping sessions and Soma breath, because Soma breath is very good at freeing ourselves from some of these limiting beliefs. So definitely EFT, either with myself or with my wife Rebecca, and we've definitely still got the half prices, and now's definitely the time to book in for a session and experience just general happiness, and probably be less dependent on other things for those happy moments. So I'm down from Eflowtion, a nice little quick one for us, and I'll see you in the next one.